With the end of 2022 just around the corner, there is now no denying that this year has been a complete and total catastrophe for Hollywood. And there is no greater indicator of that than the box office results. We have seen people in Hollywood, we've seen people in the media, we've seen anybody that's on that side try to make excuses. They've been saying, well, we're coming out of a pandemic, we're still recovering from a pandemic, that's why people aren't going to the theater. Well, then when you have things like Spider-Man No Way Home hit $2 billion worldwide, Top Gun Maverick hit $1.5 billion. And of course, Avatar is sitting there going to cruise to over $1.3 billion by the end of this weekend. It kind of makes you laugh when people make the excuse that people aren't ready to go back to the box office. Clearly, that's not the case. If there's something interesting for people to go see, they'll absolutely go to the theater. But unfortunately for Hollywood right now, that hasn't been the case. Woke Hollywood has driven fans away, not just at the box office, not just on TV, not just on streaming, but everywhere, across the board. And right now, Hollywood is dying. When you look at all the numbers, it's clear that Hollywood is in big trouble right now, and they are desperately trying to find any hope that they can. Box office 2022, what worked, what flopped, and what to make of a roller coaster year at the movies. Well, I guess roller coaster might be okay. Roller coasters sometimes go really, really low, then up real quick, down real quick, and then really, really, really low. That's basically been the box office. There hasn't been too many bright spots. And in fact, when we look at the numbers right here, I'm going to show you what the total domestic box office number is for 2022. And would it shock you to realize that it's the worst we've had in 20 years? Cutting out, I will give Hollywood an exception. I'll give them an excuse. Yeah, 2020 when COVID shut down theaters, 2021 when they were still reopening, I'll give you a pass on that. But the box office has been back for a very long time. The success of No Way Home at the end of 2021 signified that theaters are back. Theaters were open. Nobody's closing down. Nobody's going on lockdown. That's not the fucking case anymore. That's not reality. You can no longer use that as an excuse. And when you look at this number, estimated by the end of the year to be somewhere around $7.5 billion. We haven't seen numbers that bad. Let's go all the way down here. Since 2000. Over 20 years. A 20-year low. That's what the box office is at. And of course, this chart here that I'm looking at, this one, the middle, doesn't count for inflation. We do have the inflated adjusted box office numbers if you want to look at that, and you realize that that number all the way back in 2000 would now be about $12.8 billion in today's money. That's how bad this is for the woke Hollywood entertainment industry. Coming off 2019 when it was $11.2 billion, this is so far off the mark. And it gets even worse because it's not just about this number. It's really about how many people are going to the theater. Well, fortunately for us, we have tickets sold right here. 825 million tickets sold. Just over 825 million tickets sold. That is a low since they started recording these numbers for the wide releases. Since 1995, the first one we have, where it was over 1 billion tickets sold, 1.2 billion tickets sold. This is the lowest we've seen. Again, I'll throw out those two actual pandemic affected ones because yeah, when theaters are closed, you can't sell tickets. When theaters are still closed at the beginning of the year, you can't sell tickets. And I understand that. That has not been the case in 2022. 2022 has been wide open. We have movies breaking records for release in more theaters than we've ever seen before. So don't act like the pandemic has been affecting this, not in any way, shape, or form. And here's a graph that puts an even better perspective. This is tickets sold, and you can tell it was on a little bit downward trend here coming towards 2019. We've got our two really low years, but now look at it. 825 billion tickets sold, so far below what we had seen before. This is pathetic. And you might tell me, hey, Ryan, well, you know, the reason this is happening is because they've doubled down on streaming. They're making all their money on streaming. Is that so? What's going on with Netflix? Woke fail. Netflix shares plummet more than 50% in 2022. Worst year in more than a decade. They lost so much market value by doubling down on woke garbage. So no, I don't think that streaming is going great, at least not for Netflix. What about Disney Plus? Can we check out Disney Plus? Disney Plus is growing fast, but streaming loses $1.5 billion. So despite the fact that they're continuing to add subscribers, in just 3 months, Disney Plus lost $1.5 billion It's not going well for streaming. In fact, it might be going worse for streaming than it is at the box office because the business model does not make sense. Everybody jumped into this, is trying to be the first to become the next Netflix. We need to be the next top dog in streaming. And they're finding out that the business model is not effective when you are the one putting all your money up, when you're the one creating all this original content, instead of basically picking it off from a bunch of other places that it's already tried and true and tested, and there's already a fan demand for it. Now, people are having a much more difficult time. And all that has led to one of the worst years we've ever seen in Hollywood, bar none, not even close. Hollywood lost more than $500 billion in market value in 2022. The worst box office we've seen in over 20 years. Ticket sales lower than we've ever seen in recorded history, at least when you have this many theaters that are open, at least when you look at these comparisons. This is a woke disaster for Hollywood, and it's one of their own making. You can't use the pandemic excuse. The reality is, people aren't going to the theaters, people aren't watching these things on streaming because there isn't a reason to watch it. They have been abandoned by these woke corporations that are pushing nonsensical identity politics laden garbage instead of focused on entertaining people. The proof is in the pudding, right? You got Top Gun Maverick. You got something like Avatar that's doing well. Even something like Minions: The Rise of Gru made almost $1 billion at the box office because it gave families something that they felt they could take their kids to. When you give people what they've been asking for, when you give people what they want, they will show up. They have no problem going to the movie theater and supporting you. Unfortunately, that's not the case. This should be a massive wake-up call for Hollywood. Somehow, I doubt that will happen. Somehow, I doubt that they'll learn anything from this. They will probably continue to double, triple, and quadruple down and continue to sink this industry. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.